I'm Editor-in-Chief Michael Roffman from Consequence of Sound, and I'm sitting here today with George MacKay and Dean Charles Chapman, stars of 1917. 1917 is, I guess you could say, an athletic film. Was there any conditioning involved? Was there a boot camp that you had to attend before filming? What was the process there for prep?
Yeah. We did a lot of training. We even the extras in the film went for a boot camp. Yeah. So everyone on screen pretty much learned how to be a soldier, and we spent 6 months, rehearsing the film and choreographing it really, and also training, trying to get a bit fit.
Yeah. And I imagine that, the two of you have theater background. And did that play into helping be able to prep for choreography?
Yeah, definitely. I've not done a huge amount of theatre, but the theatre that I've done it's been vital for this, because I guess there's a sort of pragmatism with theatre where, in film, the beauty of it is you capture a moment, and therefore you're often reticent to try, of getting to that moment too soon. And there was a little bit of that, we're always mindful of not, deadening the scenes with so much rehearsal. But that kind of pragmatic approach of, it's your job to make it fresh every time, and we do this again and again and again, and by doing it again and again, we learn it better and better and better, definitely had was equivalent to theatre.
And then when I talked to Sam Mendes before, he had talked about how you would get 90% of a shot and something might happen and you'd have to start all over again. Do you have some vivid memories of these moments where you're just like, oh my God, we have to do the run again?
Yeah. Well, you didn't really want to be the one to cock it up, but it happened. And especially with me, Blake's got a lot of props. He's got a big torch on his chest. Yeah. He's got grenades, he's got biscuits, he's got a big map that's bigger than your house or your car. So a lot of stuff would go wrong, but there's a lot of stuff that, a lot of mistakes in the film. Trips, slips, George getting knocked over that, weren't planned. And but that makes it authentic and realistic.
When you're in those moments and there's, say, a trip or something, is there a part of you that you just keep going? Or do you go hey, you just keep going until they say no,
you keep going until you hear cut, basically, and you just keep going.
What was the toughest run for either of you? You felt maybe the toughest scene, perhaps.
It's really it was funny. We've been talking about this. It's hard to pinpoint one, because they all had their unique sort of challenges, but I think No Man's Land was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I think physically, for all aspects of it, for the crew as well, but the conditions were exactly as they seem, and so doing those scenes where you're trying to keep as low as possible with all the gear on, sort of holding the tension of the scene and everything, it's a drop in the ocean to what those men would have gone through. So it was never, we got to go home at the end of the day. But physically, that section of the film was quite tough.
Yeah. Every scene was physical. Every scene was emotionally draining in a way. But that No Man's Land sequence was difficult. The conditions we were in were very realistic. There's a bit in that scene where the camera lowers down to Blake and Schofield's feet, and our feet are just slipping everywhere. But that's not us acting. That's us genuinely just trying to walk. But again, makes it realistic.
Yeah. So, in speaking of realism, how much research did either of you were you tasked to do any, prior to the film, or did you take any on your own?
Yeah, we did a lot really. I remember asking Sam at the beginning, kind of going, so what do you want me to do? What should we like this and that? And he went, just do as much as turns you on. Just do what excites you and inspires you in playing the character and what you need. Don't do anything for the sake of doing it, but if you want to do it, there's a lot, So we went with the production to France, and we saw the battlegrounds there, the war graves, the museums. Dean and I then went to Belgium to the museums. Well, some of the museums were closed. I got the dates wrong, but we saw further battlegrounds and monuments and sites. There's so much reading that can be done, and often some of these books are audio books too. So there's a wonderful book called The Forgotten Voices of the Great War. Yeah, Forgotten Voices of the Great War. There's the war poets, war artists. There's a wealth of stuff if you want to go in on it.
So you went really immersive then?
Yeah. In terms of you kind of that you it was essential for us because the story's so present that there's no sort of arc to kind of other than the sort of there is an arc, but the story is so present that it just all happens to these men. You know, they meet it on the move. So it was essential that we build them of who they are before, up to that point. And that's a mixture of knowing where their homes are, who they are as men in themselves, but then also their war experience up to that point.
For going back to prep, you know, actors, you know, with dialogue, you get to, you know, read with, you know, with folks before you shoot. So much of this is physical, you know, and so much of it is just memorizing just where you're gonna have to duck, where you're gonna have to, you know, jump, and you know, especially for that second act when you're having to like leap and make some of these jumps. How do you practice for that though? Like, I mean, do you go to like a gymnasium? I mean, did you find yourself in the hotel sometimes, just like jumping on the beds, like
No,
you know?
Actually, I've got to like. There's some that we were afforded amazing rehearsals by you know, by the production. So there's one sequence of the film where they recreated a bridge, you know, at Shepperton Studios that was then we went to film in Glasgow, and we practiced on a scale model of the set, which was incredible. But also there was a fair bit of there's a bit in the film where I'm in a river, and I remember the days before then being sat on the bedroom floor, being like, land and jump and rock and around there and around it. And you know, it's you get it in your bones. And I reckon like we could pace the film. I'll probably fluff a few lines in that, but I reckon we could do the journey of the film, like every right, left turning and movement of the film now.
Oh, wow,
you know, from start to finish, left at the trench, down through the dugout, left first, right, you know, through the houses, right again at the post. Like, you know, you could, I think it's in there, but that's because we did it for months.
God, yeah, it's like a video game. I mean, God. You know, what's also, you know, interesting is being able to see it actually unfold. Did you get to see the dailies? Or was it mostly like when you finally saw the final cut, you're just like, oh wow, I can't believe I just did this whole fucking thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, we didn't watch anything really. The only thing we did sort of see was after every take, we'd go into Sam's big dark tent, and he had a monitor in there, but it'd switch off the sound, so we couldn't hear ourselves, you know, talk. You know, you couldn't hear the performance, but we would watch, you know, the physicality of it and watch our movements, so we could fine tune what we were doing wrong. And there was a point when Sam, you know, brought us in and showed us like literally 6 seconds of a scene, 6 seconds, no longer, and just of the score on top, and it really gave me chills.
Yeah.
Really gave me chills. And the first time we watched the rough cut as well, like blew me away. Very emotional. Even now, I've seen it 5 times, and I still find it really emotional to watch.
Oh,